All right, welcome everybody to our product spotlight. We are in Adelphi, Maryland, and yes, we are live on location at a ModLogic set, which is an elementary school. It's 175 modular units, a total of 100,000 square feet of space. And yes, we are going to do a live walkthrough after today's show that we have coming up for you. So today, productivity software for MEP, EPC, and modular construction businesses. Today, we welcome Benny Batrowski, Chief Operating Officer at Msuite, a construction software solution designed to track off-site construction. This single management platform helps BIM, Fab, and field construction teams build with less risk and higher profits. BIM Pro, design automation software for fast-paced mechanical, electrical, and plumbing contractors that increases design quality, eliminates the bore of dimensioning, and tagging, and improves productivity. Their FabPro solution, created for fabrication and mechanical contracting industries, a portable and industry-focused software with productivity tracking and real-time status updates to help better manage the construction life cycle, automates real-time production and material logistics direct from the shop floor. And FieldPro, a field management tool that allows site leadership to track the real-time status and productivity of activities on the job site, gives transparency into the BIM and Fab stages while allowing field leadership to easily track receiving and installation progress. Can your software connect with machines on the shop floor to feed work instructions? How can mechanical contractors optimize their MEP prefabrication workflows? These answers in workflow management for many businesses, not just MEP contractors, will be today on Dave Cooper Live. But before we get into all of that fun stuff, we need to take a moment and we need to thank our sponsors today. Listen, Ben Hershey, amazing individual with Forward Solutions Group. They are a team with more than 175 years of experience developing and specifying manufacturing for panelized and volumetric modular industries with best practices in development and implementation. They offer consulting with investors, developers, manufacturers, and builders in using off-site manufacturing methods. Forward Solutions is driving companies to succeed where others have failed. For more information, please reach out to Ben Hershey at ben@forwardsolutionsgroup.com, ben@forwardsolutionsgroup.com. And a big shout out to Howick. That's right. Howick is a pioneer in the technology of precision light steel roll forming machines. For over 40 years, their commitment to innovation in cold form steel, also known as light gauge steel, precision manufacturing, uncompromising quality, and exemplary customer service have defined the Howick way. Their commitment underpins the competitive advantage enjoyed by their customers. To learn more about Howick and to download their equipment guide, what is the right equipment for you, please go to their website at howickltd.com. This and much more coming up on Dave Cooper Live, but I think it's time to jump into it. We're going to talk about what we're doing here. We are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter. If we had one more, I may not be able to remember them all. But please, if you're not a subscriber to our YouTube channel, go there and subscribe right now. It helps us more than you could ever imagine. All right, without further ado, let's bring in Benny Batrowski. Hey, Benny, how are you today?
Good, man. Dave, thanks for having me on today.
Man, thanks for having you on our show. This is a great day because, I'm going to show in the background here, we're talking about MEPs. Look at the MEPs running through this building, and that's only a small portion. Hopefully later this afternoon, we're going to go live through this entire building. You're going to see the full workshop. But, this is such a big deal. How do we modularize? How do we fab MEPs off-site to bring it on-site? And this is something I'm super excited to talk to you about. So thank you for joining us on Dave Cooper Live.
Of course, Dave. I think this is going to be exciting.
It is going to be exciting. Well, Benny, the hot seat always begins with me asking you that we want to know everything about you. Benny, from the moment you were born to this very moment in time, do not leave out any of the good stuff from the hospital, or we will call your mother and we'll have her on the show, and that might just get a little embarrassing for you. You only got 2 minutes to do it. Please go ahead and tell us a little about who you are.
All right, Dave. Well, thanks for having me on the show. I really enjoy watching these. So I grew up right by where you are in Maryland, closer to the DC area, and was a Terrapin, so not too far away from where you are at University of Maryland. And when I realized that cost of living in DC, what it was in comparison to cost of living in San Diego, once I graduated college, I said, hey, I might as well move on out to San Diego. So I'm actually located in San Diego, California today. I got my beautiful wife and my first baby on the way, just coming around the corner a month away. So we're really excited. But my journey into construction and to offsite construction started in '08 when I co-founded a business that focused on project management for subcontractors. And really, we were focused on the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. It was a company called eSub. Those were our main clients. And as that business continued to grow, we worked closer with Autodesk and other sort of more design-driven companies. And what I started to realize there is looking at the large MEP businesses and what they were doing with offsite construction and design-driven construction. It's like, well, this is where I want to focus my time. And what I really was passionate about, seeing the productivity gains that people were able to do from moving things to the shop versus doing the stick building. Because a lot of the stuff that we had focused on was mitigating risk for a trade contractor because of delays and disruptions and these change orders. And then the worst part about it is even if things go to arbitration or lawsuits. And so when looking at that and living that problem and helping clients, so we help I implement the mechanical contractor on the Freedom Towers and looking at just how much manual work went into it, though they were fabricating a lot more of it back then than many companies. Seeing that journey go through really got me excited to focus my career more on the prefab side and the modular side. So I met Britton Langdon, the CEO of Msuite, and really just loved what they were doing. And here I am now, a year and a half later, been helping them grow. Really, it's been a good journey. So maybe not all the details, Dave, but you got a good amount there.
Well, you know what? I mean, it all starts from a passion, right? And just like you said, where you started and where you're at right now, and being able to prefabricate and modularize, so to speak, the MEP systems that we can actually build this offsite. I don't think anybody ever imagined that you could build complete MEP systems offsite and install them, in a factory environment. So, why don't we talk about where Msuite started? I think that's a good place. How did Msuite come about? What was it all about?
Yeah, sure. So we spun out of a Midwest contractor, Modern Piping, and they were living the problem every day. They were going from sub 10,000 square foot shop, and they said, well, we want to make a 100,000 square foot shop, and we want to be able to produce for some of the largest chemical plants and also be able to produce for schools. And our CEO, Britton, who was at Modern at the time, said, well, how are we going to track it? How are we going to know what the productivity is, how well we're doing, what's flowing through? And so he went out into the marketplace to try to find something and realized that, well, there wasn't really anything to track this information the way that they wanted to. And the reason why I find that important is I'm a big believer that solutions need to really start close to the problem and they've lived the problem. And so in 2015, it spun out in its own software, right? So he spoke at a conference, at an MCAA conference for mechanical contractors. People came up and said, I also have that problem. Can you help me? And I think what they realized at the time is they started to commercialize it. Well, it didn't fit everyone. It was really built for one. So that's really where they then went back internally for a few years saying, okay, let's get this right. Let's make sure that it's flexible. Because I think the big issue with construction sometimes, or we think of ourselves too much as snowflakes. You mean, right? I'm so unique, no one can do it my way, and oh God, no, that 90 degrees is completely different than this 90 degree, or that wall is completely. And so there are some things that are true where people are unique. So you need to have something that's flexible, but then also, as we know from modularization or productization, that we have more repeatable processes that we can do. So yeah, it's been a really interesting journey.
Well, you made a good point there, right? Because this is how we've always done it. We shouldn't change, right? That's kind of a big mentality, or we've tried this in the past and it didn't work type mentality in this industry. But that's not so with what you guys are doing. So, all right, where you guys like? Where's your actual fabrication shops located at?
So our headquarters, not the fabrication shops, is actually in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Though we have a distributed team and we have a good amount there. But we work with clients across the US and Canada. So guys like McKinstry in the Pacific Northwest on the MEP side, Hercutech, who's more modular walls in Arizona, Shapiro and Duncan's right down the street from you guys in the Maryland area. And we got guys in Limbach. So across the country, we work with, or Brant in Texas. So we have fabrication shops across the US and Canada that are utilizing Msuite.
But let's use where I'm at as an example. I'm sitting here thinking, I'm listening to you talk. I know Herky Walls, they do a foam, closed cell foam panel, I think it is, that they do. But in an instance like this, and I'll show behind me again, right? We got all the MEPs, and this is only a piece of it. There's hospitals and everything else. What is the process? Here I am, I'm a modular manufacturer. How do I incorporate Msuite into my process? What are the steps, and how do we go about doing that?
Yeah, sure. So I'll use an example of one of our companies, Limbach. So Limbach's a large mechanical contractor in the Northeast. They were working on a hospital project, the McLaren Greater Lansing Hospital, and the owner and GC said, "Hey, we want to try multi-trade fabrication. We think there could be some additional benefits to them." Limbach was already using our software. So what they were using our software for was to extract information from the BIM model, from the BIM. You don't need to be using BIM to use our platform, but they are able to then create assemblies or spools, as they call them in mechanicals, like what sections of piping or electrical, what information do we want to actually fabricate? And then when they feed that information, they hit load, it feeds to our fabrication tracking solution, FabPro.
Right.
And so they literally set up a fab shop with the electrical, mechanical, and plumbing right next to the hospital. This is a little bit unique, but it's an interesting case study where they truly did multi-trade versus just one. And it fed the work instructions through our software directly to the shop floor. So that would then tell them what needs to be put in, how it needs to be put in, and we're at the same time tracking what's being worked on in real time. So the owner, the GC, and the trade contractor could see exactly where it was. We call it our pizza tracker.
So let me get this straight. So I'm building in modules and sections. You're going to take my plans and you're going to modularize from my mechanical plans that I already have within your system to build it in a way to where we can install. It's going to be off site. So when you bring it on site to my factory, for instance, it's really a plug and play. We put it in, everything is set up. So it is almost snap and go is what it sounds like.
That's correct. Right. So it's creating those assemblies. We actually have a tool called Auto Spool or Auto Assembly where you could set up parameters by dimension, weight, or other things. So it'll break up your model. And then the interesting thing is what we're doing is when you actually import that information, and it doesn't have to be model driven, it can just be a hand sketch as well. You have to get the data in there, but it extracts the information if it's there from a model. So for example, is it a cut? Is it a weld? Maybe it just needs to go to kit and we need to receive the materials, put them together and ship it out. And so dynamically in the software, it shows up at the specific station within your factory or within your shop.
So, I mean, I absolutely love this. The time savings that this has to be creating when you're prefabbing offsite, because one, you're able to do the build at the same time as you're prefabbing the mechanicals offsite, and then those mechanicals are just brought in and installed. What are you guys seeing as far as savings on time?
So the ROI from the shop side or from the mechanical contractor is sort of case by case, but we're seeing some like Shapiro and Duncan by you saving 1.4 million a year from their manual processes and paper processes. That's internally. On that hospital project that we were talking about, it was interesting. they did not save as much time in man hours because they had to move the people to this shop, but then they delivered the project 2 months early. So they were that much more efficient at installing and getting it done. So they actually beat the schedule by 2 months, which we never hear in construction, or we do, but I mean, not often enough. So there's really different value adds throughout the chain, right? Obviously to the individual contractor that's doing it, but then when you look at it from the GC and owner's perspective around the predictability and being able to operate that building sooner.
Right. So you mentioned earlier that it allows you to track the status, the productivity, and keeps these timesheets. You know, where's the value in that, right? Is that a value for the on-site contractor? Is it a value for the owner of the project? Is it a value for the consumer, the end person that's buying whatever building we're building? Walk me through that.
Yeah, sure. So when we think about anything, we want to think about productivity and how efficient are we able to manufacture something? Where are we really making money manufacturing or losing money? And also, what is my capacity? So that's sort of as a first step, like how do we do that as a business if I'm looking at someone that's fabricating? So that was really important to be part of our software. But I think there's downstream or upstream that ripples through, because if I have predictability and I know what it's actually going to cost me and be able to put it out, the GC is going to be on schedule. The owner is going to hopefully get some of that cost savings as well, because now he's not stick building out in the rain and weather and other items. And then from the end consumer, having a more quality, repeatable product that's delivered on time. So, I mean, there's definitely downstream or upstream, however you want to look at it, from the totem pole of going from owner to trade contractor. But really, what we're seeing is a lot of people, yeah, we just do it. Like, oh yeah, we know we're a little bit faster in the shop, but we don't have we really don't know, or I just did 8 hours, or we got this much out. So being able to make it so these guys can passively track what they're doing, and know their capacity and throughput has become very important for our customers. And I know the owners and GCs love it when they can go and look at the pizza tracker, as we call it, or even just even within the mechanical contractor or whoever's building, if they're going to be installing it, to be able to see, oh, when is this going to be delivered to site? Where is it?
Well, and you're right there. And I think, there's the delivery to the site, there's the time tracking, there's the process, and having that comfort level, knowing where things are in the process. But I would imagine for the mechanical contractor or the owner, knowing the true cost of what things are, just like with offsite construction and modular, that's a big benefit, is knowing what things cost. Now, sure, there's still some on-site, things that have to happen, but it reduces liability in a huge way. Yes.
Oh, without a doubt. So safety, liability, installation, repeatability. I mean, I think right now the reality is there's ROI being gained from the top modular builders as well as MEP. So the people that are doing this today, they're not just the 1%ers, there's more and more of them doing every day, are able to make much larger rips on these projects. The reason why is because they're able to be much more predictable in what they're doing, and there's much less risk, as you're saying, throughout the food chain. So it's one of those things where it's like everything's tested before it's installed and delivered, right? You're not dealing with any of the environmental conditions that you typically run into, productivity gains, quality gains, and safety gains. You mean, right? Like throughout. And I mean, obviously that's why you have your show and people are moving to this, but it's been something, it's like, oh, sometimes you just want to shake someone and be like, hey, look, like it's that much better. No, this isn't like a farce. We're not trying to like make this up. You can do this in a factory or in a shop. I think I lost you on some audio there. So the other things that we've really seen from a cost
There we go.
savings. Oh, hey, Dave.
Yep. Yeah. Sorry about that. So I was messing with my. As you can tell, it's loud in here. So I was messing with my audio settings. All right. So but you're right. From a cost savings standpoint, right? There is the value of there's what it costs up front, but then there's the overall value of the life cycle of doing the project itself. Are you seeing the savings on that?
Yeah, we're seeing it across the board. And then what we're seeing is the next generation is the productization. So, right, we talked about snowflakes and one-offs. Everything's the same. What we're seeing now, the more sophisticated or the more experienced contractors are starting to productize more. So, like, we are big believers in the idea of DFMA, design for manufacturing, understanding. And obviously, your people are doing that too. But we're seeing this on the MEP space or the electrical space, right, where they're doing whole pieces and they're more products, not one-offs. And I think that's something where people are even taken to the next level of cost savings, repeatability, and productivity.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. So, you guys have different lines of products. I went through it in my opening monologue, and maybe it might be good, kind of just so people really understand the difference between BIM Pro, FabPro, Field Pro, etc. Can you kind of just give us the breakdown on where they fall into your line of product?
Yeah, sure. So what we like to say is, right, we connect BIM, Fab, and field teams. So on the BIM side, our BIM Pro product, it's a Revit plugin. It also can work in CAD as well. And it allows you to quickly create assemblies and spools and tag and dimension for what am I breaking up to go into the shop. From the fabrication side, our FabPro product is the fabrication management solution. So you're able to approve, revise, markup drawings. They flow through your shop. And as people work on them at each station, as they work on whatever it might be at that station, we're actually passively tracking their time and what they're working on. And you're able to then get lots of great rich data. So I know on the oil and gas side, being able to get heat logs and complete traceability of who's touched what or welded what. On the sheet metal side, being able to look better at pounds per hour, or on the mechanical side, the feet per hour. So that really on the Fab Pro. And then Field Pro rounds it out for the people that are installing. So did it show up on site and did it get installed? And that all flows back into either 2D or 3D model, like 2D drawing or 3D. So the thing though that we're finding though is we started in mechanical and they were very heavy on BIM, Fab, and field installation. What we're finding is now we're starting to bring on customers that are pure pipe fabricators. They don't design and they don't install, but they have 100 people in the shop at each location plus, and they're fabricating pipe for oil and gas. And they use spool gen, ISO, they use other software to load. That's fine. Same idea as what we're finding in modular, though there are some companies that are modular that are still using Revit. So what we're finding is we see people, the one thing in common, everyone's using our fabrication tool. For the most part, we have some mechanicals that just use our BIM tool, but it's not one of those things where, hey, we don't do BIM, so Msuite's not for us type thing. Because that's what we're finding is it
Right.
really doesn't matter what you're designing in.
Yeah, but the technology is important. And, like just even with the BIM and that digital twin that it creates, so you can build it twice on paper before actually fabricating to make sure it's not going to run into something, in a wall or a drop header you didn't see. That's got to be a huge tool for you to
It's
bring in.
amazing how the data flows. I mean, it's just next level because when you imagine, as soon as you create that assembly or you have the model, I can look in the model in our software in real time and see color coded where is it in its production, has it been delivered, has it been installed. And so it's really amazing to be able to have that, in essence, that digital twin. And then on handover, here's all the information, here's where it is. I mean, it definitely is next level. And we are also seeing on the oil and gas EPC side, people that had never looked at Revit or looked at doing it in BIM, that they can do it that much quicker using our tool. And then they get the 2D, the 3D, they get that full, as you sort of, digital twin as it goes through. And people are like, wow, that's like, there's enough value to the organization to say, hey, let's start doing it in 3D because I get all these other things. Though I'm not gonna lie, we still have guys that take the cardboard, I want this, and they take a picture and upload it. You know what I mean? So it's the reality. It's still going to be there some, especially on the mechanical side, though. What we're seeing again to get there's a range, right? I mean, there's people going from pure productization that are using our software to the people that are still using the cardboard and saying, I want this.
Yeah, well, hey, listen, I've been a builder for a lot of years, and I would say sometimes 60% of the homes all started on a napkin somewhere. This is what I want. So let me get this straight. So we're using high technology, we're using BIM, digital twins, and others, and you don't need it to use your software. So I want to make that very clear. Just because you're not using BIM and your building does not mean you can't do this. But it also talks to the machinery that you said on the floor. So let's talk about what that machinery is, because isn't this still a very labor-intensive process? You're just kind of doing it indoors like, other fabrication where it's always sunny and 70?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, what we're seeing is sort of that next level of what we see as Industry 4.0. So step one for us was to feed the shop, feed the individuals with their work instructions, and yes, there's increased productivity from there. But what we started to find is that on the mechanical and piping side and on others is that there's machines on the shop floor that they already owned that they were manually loading information to. So one of the first ones that we integrated with was Tiger Stop and Tiger Saw. It's an automated sort of saw and movement arm. We then have been integrating with companies like Pipe Server, which control many different pipe cutting, welding machines, as well as we're starting to integrate with companies like Novark. They actually have automated welding machines. So what happens then is instead of feeding the work instructions to the individual or the human, right, those are being fed directly to the machine or to the person operating the machine. And then we're reading back in the productivity data from there. Well, was the cut made? Was the welt made? Did the arm move? And so this is sort of that next level as we see. I think with any of these ones, it's like an onion. You see like, okay, I can do this in a shop. Perfect. Well, let's make a little bit bigger shop. Well, we're seeing some productivity. And so this is just the next evolution to there.
For sure, for sure. So for any of those of you out there, we are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter. And I can see there's quite a few of you watching on all the different platforms. Let us know what your thoughts are on this. Have you seen mechanicals, MEPs done off-site, brought on-site, especially in the modular world? Any of you modular folks out there doing this now where we're building off-site, they're putting it in the manufacturing facility and then shipping and finishing it on-site? It makes a whole lot of sense to me, and it makes a whole lot of sense when you look at reducing your time, reducing your liability, reducing your costs, and reducing your overhead, especially in a time where we have a major trade labor shortage. This is a way to gain some of that quality control back and hopefully gain some of the younger generation that wants to start using all this cool tech. They've been using BIM, virtual reality, augmented reality, all of that for a long time. Now we're using it in our industry, and we need to let the world know that. So that's awesome, Benny. I love this.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there on that skilled trades gap we have right now. And I mean, we can't stress it enough. And the unions, UA, IBEW, as well as, I mean, they're doing a great job of training the next generation. But we have such a vacuum that came from 08 and from the sort of the baby boomers leaving our space. So what we're finding now, though, is I was down at one of our shops, Gallo Mechanical in Louisiana, and he had one of his apprentices controlling the Tiger Stop, which is the cutting machine. And he was able to get through something that, would take them a lot more typically on site or a more skilled person to potentially do. And he'll continue to go through and learn the trade. But it's amazing to see what you're able to do more with less, or with getting those people in. The other side of it too is no one, or the reality is, it's not like when some people got started in this industry, your first day on job site, get set, here are the plans, go figure it out. What happens today is, here's the iPad, go figure it out. And it's actually a good thing though, because the younger generations that are coming into our environments, if you said, yeah, we're going to go build this and here's your set of plans in paper versus here's your iPad, here's your model, here's how you, it's allowing us to attract the brightest for the future. So I mean, I think
Yeah.
we got a lot of work to do, and I know we got a lot of good people behind it, but this is definitely one that, I mean, we see ourselves as not only helping to reduce that by producing software for it, but and working with the educators, but it's something that really should help that skills trade gap because it's not going away.
Yeah, it's not going away anytime soon. I think it'll definitely be coming back, you know. And I think when people understand the value and the income they can make in this industry versus what they can do with a 4-year degree, there's no comparison. There's zero comparison on it. So let's say we got a couple people I just want to make a quick shout out to real quick. Greg Ugaldi's in the house. A great look for DC Live, and Dave with vest and hard hat. You like that, Greg? A Mod Logic hard hat, by the way. I'm at a Mod Logic site in Adelphi, Maryland. Are you in Washington, D.C.? Maybe I should come over there and rub shoulders with all you bigwigs this week. But Greg Ugaldi is the immediate past chair of the National Association of Home Builders. And I like to always say it, if you're not familiar with him, follow him. He makes things happen in D.C. And he gets to hang out with the president a couple times a year, updating him on what's happening in our world in housing and protecting our rights as builders. So appreciate you, Greg, for showing up. And, of course, we got Joel Hutchins out there. He is no stranger to technology by any stretch. He's into parametric design, generative design. Joel Hutchins has it going on with everything that he has doing. And he said, hashtag digital fabrication. Let us know where you're joining us from today. Don't be a stranger to what we're talking about here. All right, so Benny, you're not just a fabrication shop. It sounds as though you are very much a technology shop as well. It sounds like that you're using technology to just make fabrication easier.
Yeah, I mean, I think the interesting thing through our journey is we started with the mechanical and piping because that's where we came from. And right, what we realized though is, well, those are one-off things that they're doing, and we can handle that really well. But then when we look larger and we look further across the spectrum, what we started to realize with our product is that, well, it doesn't matter what your workflow is. It doesn't matter if it's a cut or a pour or even a nail. Like, what are we doing within this workflow? So what we're really starting to do now is bring on clients that aren't our traditional MEP, right? I mean, that's sort of where we started. And what we're seeing is as the modular trend continues, that it becomes, a wider product for fabrication or manufacturing, however you want to think of it. I mean, the more and more I talk about it, I like to think of it as manufacturing. I mean, I know the pipe, or a lot of times we call it fabrication, but it's really, the modularization, we're becoming manufacturers. And so we are helping people to become manufacturers of their product in construction. I mean, no matter if it's, pipe or a bathroom pod or, electrical rack or multi-trade racks. I mean, we're working with them to move them through their fabrication journey and give them a product that allows them to really see where they're making money and not, and how can they become more productive with it.
Well, and that's it. How do you increase your productivity? And I keep going back to it, decrease your liability, increase your productivity, do more with less, and that's with labor and skilled labor and what have you. So we talk about workflows, right? You build a product or technology that can handle any workflow, you say. What do you mean by that when you say can handle any workflow? And give us some example of products outside of yours that or within yours that makes sense.
Yeah. So what happens when you think about your shop, right? We have different stations set up within our shop. So we actually have a configuration tool when you get set up that looks like, I don't know if you've ever seen Visio or Lucid Charts, and you're literally just setting up your own workflow. And well, what happens when this comes? Well, normally Bob walks it over there. Okay, cool. Well, when does Bob walk it over there? Well, when it has a cut in it. Okay, cool. So if it has a cut, it should show up here. So literally, if it's a concrete or wall panel, determine on what your stages are. It's completely flexible on how you implement it in your shop. And the reason why I bring that up is important. It's a lot of tools, or maybe we just learned this the first time when we were doing it. It was like, well, everyone doesn't have an exact perfect linear workflow that's the same. Everyone had, and especially when you have multiple trades working on a skid or one compartment. So that's what I mean by it. So we've developed it. So literally when you're implementing, you can lay out, I wish I could share my screen on one of these. They're so cool. They look like, just any flow chart, and it lays out your shop, and our software then follows that, customized to whatever it might be, that however you're doing it. Though, spoiler alert, a lot of people look the same, even though they think they don't. But we do have some ones that are very unique. That some more.
Yeah. Well, hey, listen, if you want to share your screen, we got the ability to do that. I just don't know if it messes up your screens on your end. Just hit the share button at the bottom of your screen, and we can lock into that. While you look at that, I'm just going to give everybody a quick update. We are live on location in Adelphi, Maryland, on a ModLogic modular manufacturer home set. It's not even a home. This is a school. This is an elementary school that is going from an older, not run down, but just an older school. They're growing. But look at the inside of this. This is 175 modular units. That's right, 175 modular units. There's 100,000 square feet of space here. This has only been here for 30 days, and it's awesome because we're talking about MEPs. Well, we're going to be showing you some MEPs in our walkthrough here, and this is what Msuite is all about. How do you pick up this process? How do you increase productivity? How do you get the job done faster so we can get the kids in school here much sooner? You're going to see, we got the little book cabinets in. We got the cutest little bathrooms with the sinks and the toilets, the low ones. So join us here in just a few minutes after this show. We are going to go live again, hopefully, and showcase everything that's going on here. All right, Benny, back to you, my friend. Here we go.
All right, I'm a little scared. I got 3 monitors, so I don't know which one's going to show up here. So we'll see.
Well, when you're ready, just I'll add it to the show once it pops up, so it won't automatically pop up. So I'll be able to save you if you're putting up something.
There we go. Yeah, I don't know what's on that 3rd monitor ever.
There you go.
So this is that workflow engine that I was referring to. This was just sort of an example of one, but literally you're just dragging over. So they had a cut, a fit, a weld, and then it went to determine which side here. But we have very complex ones, other ones, but literally it's drag and drop and setting up your workflows in there. So it's something that I find very interesting and unique to be able to sort of to package that. And I guess I probably should have asked earlier, knowing that that I'm able to play some video and share some stuff. I just want to show a little bit of that project real quick that we were talking about. So this was at the hospital. But here, I just want to show this.
Yeah, go ahead. You can blow it up too. It'll blow. It won't take up my whole screen if you want.
Let's see, sorry, was not.
That's okay. This is like I said.
People. So I was sort of blown away. I saw this video. I was like, okay, they had this huge hospital. They had to do these multi-trade racks. That's got to be at least 50 people in there. And so this was, they built it right next to the hospital. There was only 14 people. So this was the one, right? This was 14 people that had done this. This was from a presentation we just recently did for NECA. So I was going through it. But what we're looking at is 2 months ahead of time. So it was really, really amazing. And I think you can sort of see here, this last slide here, this is them lifting in the rack.
Got it. So when you say an MEP rack, it's almost like what they do in the audio and visual world, where they build out the rack and they can transport it anywhere. So it's already built in. It's a system that just drops into place.
That is correct.
That's cool. That's super cool. And where was this project happening at?
So this was in the Detroit area. And to give a little plug, there is a case study about it on msuite.com under resources. So if you want to read more about that project, it's definitely a very forward-thinking owner and GC on it as well, to work with their trades to say, hey, we want to utilize offsite. And I think the big thing, that 2 months early was huge. Obviously for the owner to get their project handed over to them.
Well, 2 months early is huge on a small project or any project. You know, time is money, and I have to say, you know what's cool about Msuite? I'm going to coin this one. You're going to have to make a T-shirt. Msuite is making MEP sexy. Is that a good T-shirt or no?
We're bringing sexy
MEPs
back.
are now sexy because of Msuite. You heard it right here, Dave Cooper live with Ben. I'm trying to keep the show PG, Benny. So work with me, all right? All right. So Benny, I mean, yeah, I mean, if there's things you want to share, you know, we got some time, we can do that. I think, I mean, it makes a whole lot of sense. Everything that you're talking about, it makes a whole lot of sense that somebody's really starting to focus on this portion of our builds, especially with the trade labor issues we're having. The data that you're getting from this, you know, and you guys have done jobs all over the place now, you know. How do you fine tune even your process with the data you collect from each job? Because it seems like you're already there.
So it's working internally with each shop, and I think they're starting to better understand because it's giving them a real-time feedback loop. So when you upload your work instructions, right, either from the BIM or just manually to our software, it tells you how long it's going to take you based upon your historicals in real time. So as soon as it gets up there, it's saying, hey, this is what you thought. So more or less what it's doing, it's helping you guide yourself to say, well, my estimator, because you still can put your estimate in there of like, you mean what came out of estimating. It helps guide. It's not like before it was like the real-time feedback loop, right? The idea of like, okay, we're going to estimate, we're going to manage in the field, and we're going to get to accounting, we're going to get that feedback loop. This is even happening quicker. So as soon as you upload, we're able to see, well, what are you productive on? What are you not productive on? And this is where we're helping them people get to their next step. Wow, I'm really good at doing this thing. Well, can we do more of those? Or can we make more things look like, or maybe not look like that, but that process, right? Seeing where, or man, this is one I thought we could do a little bit quicker, but we can't. Like, why not? Let's look at it. So it doesn't per se solve the problem for you. It's not a magical like, okay, now the AI is gonna go and change how you build it in the shop, but it's gonna put a spotlight on it and tell you in real time with it. And it was pretty amazing. They did MCAA and Dodge did a study on like improvement factors. And across the study, like 90% obviously had material like waste improvements, right? Because we help to nest, we help, I mean, just offsite construction just helps with material waste. Like 90% also didn't have or had labor cost sort of reduction. Quality of work was 86%. Like it was across the board. When you're looking at this, worker safety is 80%. Like people saw increased worker safety. And so, and schedule performance was at 84%. It's interesting. So when you look across the board with the people that are already dipping their toe into this, and I know it's sort of sometimes it's trying to explain to the rest of the industry why they need to move off site, but across the board, we're seeing productivity gains. And it doesn't mean that day one, you need to be the guy integrated to the machine on the floor using the model. It might just mean that, hey, let's find some of these repeatable processes. Let's find some of these things that we can bring into a shop and let's track them, right? And let's see how we get better. You mean I see it as a journey, not just a switch for people.
Yeah. Well, continuous improvement, right? We got to continually be improving. And it's not hard to continuously improve in this industry because we're in last place when it comes to technology and doing things, you know, at a higher level. So
hunting, I thought was on point with us, the outdoor hunting and fishing, but no, actually they beat us. They beat us.
I think outdoor hunting and fishing has even beat us at this point.
I think they have too.
There's some great people like what you're doing this. All right, so here's the big question, and then we'll wrap it up here in a minute. Is you fabricate all of these things in your shop? I'm Busy Beaver in my own manufacturing facility or on my job site. Who delivers it and who installs it in my factory or on my job site?
Yeah, so great question. So most of the mechanical, or I'd say the majority of the mechanical contractors, they have shipping that's going to pick it up and drop it off the site, and they're doing their own installation, right? On many of the oil and gas people that we work with, they're doing the fabrication. They have a third party, the other company is picking up the pipe, and another party is installing it. what we're starting to see, which is interesting, is, well, my shop does not, even on the mechanical or MEP side, like the people that install, my shop is backed up. I just landed this big hospital. Well, can you do the fabrication services for me down the street? I'll go pick them up from you and have my people install them. So what we're starting to see is that separation of manufacturing and installation, though for the typical MEP, right, it's the same, the same, not the same people, but the same company manufactures and installs, though we see it continuing to move in this understanding of, well, some people manufacture, some people install, and that's fine. Or I don't have capacity for manufacturing this one, so let me get the guy down the street to manufacture it for me, because I still realize it would be cheaper than me doing it on site.
Yeah, for sure. And what about training so people understand your system and they send it to you, first time users? You guys offer kind of some training on how things are being shipped, or how does the process go so they know where they're at with everything?
Yeah, so what we do is we have virtual and on-site training. Typically, it's 2 days on site where we're getting the shop set up and we're going through, and then we're checking in with them throughout the process. So it's one of those things where we work with our clients every step of the way of getting them up and running. But the beauty is it's actually very surprisingly very easy to implement. The hard thing about software is making it complex behind the scenes, but then for the guy on the shop floor, literally he's just clicking the next row. Like there's almost nothing he can do or she can do. I mean, that's like, and that's the beauty of it, right? Like, how do you make it super simple for the people that have to use it every day, but then making sure that then we're extracting the information needed for management and productivity.
And you know, it's funny you say that. Like, we need to become more of an assembly line process. I just had this conversation last night with Jim Gabriel, you know, and how do we increase our industry's production and output of product, right? And, you know, having that assembly line approach makes a whole lot of sense. And now you've just taken all the MEPs and made that part of an assembly line approach within my manufacturing facility or on my job site. And I think that's an amazing, amazing thing to happen.
Well, Dave, thanks so much for having me on. I'll give a little plug to say if anyone wants to find out more information, msuite.com. They can request a demonstration or just reach out directly to me on LinkedIn or Twitter. And even if you just want to talk shop, like I love talking about this stuff. A lot of our team loves talking about this stuff. So it's, it doesn't have to mean that you guys need to know about the software. Like, let's just talk shop.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely talking shop. And as you can see, I got your website up right here.
Thank you.
Gives you kind of an inside look. So you want to learn a little bit more about Msuite, there you have it. It's msuite.com. You can go in here. You can look at everything they have, BIM Pro, FabPro, Field Pro. You can schedule a demo, and you can also read what customers are saying, right? And you got some pretty big name customers in here. So all of this is amazing. I appreciate you sharing it with us today, Benny.
Yeah, thanks again for having me on.
Yep. And again, I want to thank the boys out loud. The contractors are working hard. All right, so I want to thank Forward Solutions Group and Halleck just one last time. If you're not familiar with Forward or Halleck, please go check them out. Go to their websites, learn more about what they do. We cannot do what we do without our sponsors and people helping us along this journey to educate, bring new products to market, and showcase companies that are doing it better. Hashtag build it better, just like Msuite is doing. So we appreciate you for being on the show today.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, you're very, very welcome. So to you and the team at Msuite, thank you so much. For the rest of you out there, if you're not following Benny, please go and follow him on LinkedIn. And if you're not following Msuite, follow what they are doing. They are changing how we think about MEPs, and they're changing the way we think about how we install MEPs on our job site. This is all about increasing productivity, building it better, bringing the youth back into our industry. And heck, we may even catch up on this affordable housing crisis yet if we can all work together and be smarter about how we work. And I want to thank everybody that's out there too. Jerry Dunn, I'm glad you put it up there. I wasn't going to read that because I was like, really, you're going to do it in Arabic for me today? But he says, hello from Dubai. Thank you, Jerry, so much. And hey, Jim Gabriel owns ModLogic. There you go. I told you. He sold. I think you guys should talk as well, because that's what we're all about. Make sure you comment and talk to people, because there are people that want products out here, want Benny's product. say hello, reach out to them. They're going to help you along your journey and make you better and help you build faster, safer, and hopefully be more profitable along the journey. I'm Dave Cooper. Thanks for watching. Benny, don't go anywhere. I'll come back to you after the outro. We'll see you in an hour. That's right. I said an hour. Bye now.